Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak, and today happens to be, I don't know, the day before Mother's Day. What do you call that? Mother's Day Eve? Happy Mother's Day Eve, everyone, and happy Mother's Day if you're listening to this and you're a mother, and what a mother you are. Um, the last episode, I had my mother on. That was delightful. I had a lot of positive feedback from everybody saying that we were very positive people and that we seem to flow with conversation very fluidly. And that's true. I mean, let's face it, I've spent my entire life talking to this woman. So we kind of know how each other talk. And there's one of those things about pausing. Like some people know how to have a conversation and they take the right pauses at the right times, and you can build off of each other and you can almost dance with one another with your conversation. And conversation is an art form. I didn't always have that art form. I didn't always have that ability to converse with just anybody. I mean, nowadays I can, but I'm an adult now. When I was a kid, I couldn't. When I was a kid, I was nervous. I was scared. I don't know, always examining myself. And I think we all do that. I think we all have moments where we think about things too much and we're afraid we're going to say the wrong things. Or you're the type of person who just says the wrong things and suffers the consequences regardless. Um, at times in my life, I've done both. That's part of growing up. That's part of becoming an adult. That's part of making some of these weird decisions on your own and going, okay, let's see what happens. Um, One thing is constant in life is that nothing is consistent. Everything in life can change. Everything in life can suddenly tilt on an axis, and the next thing you know, you're going through a 6 month situation with a busted eyeball. I mean, that kind of stuff does happen. It's not that you plan on it. It's not that you want it to happen. It's just that it happens sometimes. Um, so anyway, to say that, happy Mother's Day again to all the moms out there. I am super excited because I'm a Star Wars fan and lots of Star Wars stuff is coming out. This past week, we had 2 episodes of The Bad Batch on Disney Plus. The Bad Batch, if you guys don't know, is an animated series sort of based on these characters that came up in the Clone Wars who were genetically modified stormtroopers that were seen as defective. They didn't fall in line with how the stormtroopers normally were. They were genetically modified to either be super smart, super cunning, super strong, super technical, super whatever the thing is. I mean, there's several guys. Um, I don't know all of them by heart yet. I am learning them as I go. I watched the second episode today. The first episode came out May the 4th because of the funny tagline, May the 4th be with you, kind of like May the Force be with you. That, guys, if you're not a Star Wars fan, that's what that is. It's just sort of a clever play on words. It just makes you think, oh, yeah, I can't wait for more Star Wars stuff. And luckily, you know, a lot of people were upset when Disney bought the rights to Star Wars stuff. They were like, oh no, Disney's going to ruin it. Well, they haven't ruined it. They actually hired some of the best people to take over the franchise, Dave Filoni being one of them. Dave Filoni basically created these characters in this Clone Wars universe to sort of be rogue stormtroopers that they all have the same guy's voice because they're all clones of each other. And one guy basically does all of their voices. Kudos to that guy for that job. That's a really awesome job for him. Um, but also they have different personalities. They have different wants and desires and fears and strengths and weaknesses and all that stuff. But it's interesting that they're all basically clones. So here you got these guys that were created by the Caminos in this Star Wars universe. And, one guy is supposed to be a hunter and he's like very cunning. He can figure things out really well. One guy is very technical. He has like how R2D2 in the movies used to plug his little hand into the side of the wall and beep, 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 and he can make stuff happen on the computer. This guy has an arm like that. Like he can just tap into things and figure it out. He's got a very computerized brain and way of looking at things. And they say in here that he's more computer than he is person, which is very interesting. I'm kind of curious how that's going to pan out. You have one guy who's super strong. He just bashes everything, and he sort of has kind of a lughead kind of way of speaking that makes you think that he's not very intelligent. But they all work together as a team. There's also this guy who's a sniper. The sniper, I want to say the technical guy is like Echo or something like that. And then the sniper guy, um, I don't remember his name. Anyway, the sniper guy though has this inhibitor chip in his brain that the other stormtroopers have, like the regular stormtroopers. So whenever in the storyline, Order 66 is given by Senator Palpatine, who becomes Emperor Palpatine or the Emperor, the bad guy, you guys don't know the bad guy. Spoiler alert. He enacts this Order 66, which is something hardwired into their brain, into their code. This computer chip is in their brain. Order 66 basically says that now the Jedi's are traitors and they need to be killed on sight. So suddenly, all of this stuff that Emperor Palpatine had done, where it was supposed to be the Separatists versus the Republic, the Separatists were these android-based things, and they were, killing humans and stuff like that. And it was a very interesting way to have two opposing forces at hand, and he orchestrated all of the Jedi to fight for him in a way to basically blindside them when the time was right to have all of the components in place. And instead of them fighting a war as generals, now they're the bad guy and they're killed. So many of them go underground, many of them go into hiding, several of them escape. The Ahsoka Tano story is she doesn't want to hurt the guys who are closest to her, one of them being a guy named Rex. Rex is you see Rex a lot in the movies, you see Rex a lot in the cartoon versions of the movies, and Rex is sort of her right hand man, and she figures out a way to take the chip out or to destroy the chip inside of his brain. And he snaps out of it, and they help several other stormtroopers snap out of it. And these guys who were, completely loyal to her, she basically saves their life, and in process saves her own life. But because of that, there's a large reverence for her in the fact that she didn't want to just kill them. She didn't want to just, she could have, sure, but these guys were her friends and she looked at them that way. And because she did this extra effort, they all regard her as such, as being, very respected. So, anyway, in this story, these Bad Batch, the Bad Batch of guys, the show starts off May the 5th, May the 4th, excuse me, starts off with them carrying out missions for the Republic, helping Jedi's. And in the first few minutes, Order 66 is enacted, and you see a female Jedi who has a young Padawan named Caleb. You see them trying to overcome a battle against these droids, and the Bad Batch, 5 guys, come in there and basically wipe out a regimen of droids where these other stormtroopers and Jedi's they were overwhelmed. And these 5 guys took them out all together, just took them out. And they were like, that's what we do. We're the wrecking crew. And it's kind of got a good feel to it at that point. But at a certain moment, Order 66 is enacted and they're attacking the Jedi. And she tells Caleb to run. The Padawan tells him to run. And so, the Bad Batch is really not affected by this Order 66 except for the sniper. The sniper can't help it. There's something in his code. Now he wants to kill the Jedi. And so Hunter recognizes this, and like the other 4 guys are not affected at all. They're like, hey, wait a second. They sort of fight back. They sort of, try to curve him away and also talk to the Padawan and go, hey, we're going to try and help you. But the Padawan's scared, like he's a kid. And suddenly he sees that all these, stormtroopers have turned against his master and killed her, or his teacher, not master, you know what I mean? So, suddenly he's on the run. And I looked up his name on Google and I thought I had uncovered some neat little secret. I thought that he was Caleb from the Rebel show. Caleb in the Rebel show is sort of the master at that point, and he teaches Ezra Pritchard. I thought this is the same Caleb. I could be wrong. I think I misread the last name. I think one of the guys' name is Caleb Dune, and the other guy's name is Caleb Doom, Dome. But then he goes by a different name because he doesn't want the Republic to find it. This may be the same guy. I just may have misread it. This is the Stuff I Heard podcast, not stuff I know. Please check out other podcasts for stuff they know. But this is just stuff I heard. So anyway, Freddie Prinze Jr. voiced the kid and also voiced the same character as Caleb Dome. So that made me think it's the same guy. Now, this may turn out to be true. This may turn out to be a fact before it's all said and done. It would be very interesting to see how that character arch moved from one point to the other because, again, none of these people are idiots. They all reuse good talent and they're going to figure out a way to have these people back in the mix. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be really cool. The first episode was like a mini movie. It was like 70 minutes long. I mean, if you think nowadays, a lot of movies are hour and a half to 2 hours to 3 hours, hour and a half. I mean, 70 minutes is not far away from a full fledged movie for the first episode. It was pretty cool. The second episode came out yesterday. Apparently, they're going to come out on every Friday. So yesterday, actually watched it this morning with some coffee. I was having some coffee when I woke up, and I was like, "Oh, I get to watch Bad Batch! Yay!" It was like a 30-minute episode, but it was good. It was really good. They follow these guys basically fleeing the Empire. They don't show what happened to their sharpshooter guy, but they do go looking for refuge. And in the process, they come across another stormtrooper guy who apparently had like become self-aware and had left the Empire a while back or left the Republic a while back to start a family with a Twi'lek lady. And she's a sharpshooter and they have two kids together and he just wants to be left alone, and they go to him to sort of find out, how do we navigate this from here? I mean, because you've been doing it. What do we do? And basically, he said, we just need to get away. Like you just need to find a patch of dirt with not a lot of people, and hopefully you can survive. He's like, my focus is not on fighting anymore. My focus is on my family, and there is a sense of that as well, because they come across this little girl named Omega. Omega is a clone, but she's a female clone, which is really odd. And I'm not exactly sure what her special thing is going to be, but I have a feeling that she's going to have something to do with the success of this show. She's like, if I had to guess, maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old in the show, 8 years old, something like that. She's a young girl, and she has an Australian accent, which is kind of unusual, but they all sort of have a British accent because they're British actors. Anyway, so she like bonds with these guys. She's a big fan of these guys when they show up on Camino, and she leaves Camino with them in the hopes of being able to have an adventure away from her planet. Because when Order 66 happens, she realizes that they were put in jail, and she tries to help them escape. And there was a whole thing where suddenly they were deemed the bad guy, even though they aren't. And so it's very interesting. There is a duality to this of life now. There's a moment where one of the guys says stormtroopers are born as a number, and their whole life they just want to be given a name. And now that the Empire has taken over, everyone's name is not important. They're given numbers. It's sort of a reflection on life now. I mean, if you think about how life is right now, where it used to be very important for people to know your name. It used to be very Your name was everything. Like I heard that growing up. Your name means everything. You don't want to do something to bring any kind of shame to your name. It could be a family name, it could be your own personal name. I mean, the last thing you want to hear is that your name is Mud, which, when I was growing up was talked about, but I didn't really understand what that meant until I got older. And then when I got older, I thought, well, I mean, who really cares? But that's when the idea of your name meant something back then. So now they're given numbers. Okay, we're seeing sort of the same thing in society right now with this vaccine. I've gotten my first shot, by the way, getting my second one on the 19th of May. And I actually had a conversation with someone who was concerned that I was going to be getting my vaccines before we got together and did a podcast. And I was like, why do you care? Like, to me, this guy and I are both healthy enough that we are not at the at risk category. I've hung out with him before and it not come up. I don't know why it's suddenly something that he thought was important to say. oh, good, we'll have our vaccines by then. We can do a totally vaccine. I was like, what? Whatever makes you feel comfortable. Okay. But with this vaccine, we've heard a lot of stipulations of people saying you got to have your card in order to leave the country or to enter another country. You got to have your vaccine card in order to travel on maybe a cruise ship. There's certain situations where they don't want you on a plane unless you've been vaccinated. And to me, it's leaning more and more towards this. We don't care who you are. Show me your number. Show me your card. Show me that you belong. Where's your classification? Where is your. And so we're teetering on this moment in society where I think we are just before losing our identity as Josh, Dolores, Greg, Deborah, Dan. We're losing our identity to that. And I think we're just on the precipice of only being numbers. Now, I'm sure to a lot of politicians and a lot of economists and accountants and people who make decisions on a larger scale, we are just numbers. I mean, to the stock market, we're numbers, right? How is this any different? So, I guess my word of encouragement, because listen, I like to be encouraging, and I know this is sort of a bleak way to look at things, but my word of encouragement is make a name for yourself, make your voice heard, have some sort of sense of self enough that people know your name. Now, when my children were little, um, their mom used to say something that she heard when she was a kid. Whenever they were getting their legs strong and they could start to stand up a little bit, she would, in a baby voice, say, "Stand up and be counted. Stand up and be counted." And that actually means more than it sounds. Stand up and be counted. We saw a little bit of that in the movie Thor, whenever Loki showed up and he said, "Bow down to me." And there were people who had served in war before or had been prisoners of war before. And they stood up and they said, "I'll never bow down again. I will stand up." That's sort of a tagline of Captain America in the Marvel Universe. Every time he got knocked down, they would say, "Why don't you just stay down?" And he says, "No, I can do this all day." We heard that from the new Captain America, from Sam. "I will not back down. Stand up. Make your voice heard. Make what you say count. And if you got nothing to say, learn. Find out what's your thing, whatever your thing is." Listen, not everybody can be leaders. Not everybody can have a voice. Not everybody's meant to have a voice. I get that. But do something well. Do something that's you enough to know that when people see it, they go, "Oh, I can tell that this person did that. I can see their stamp of craftsmanship or their stamp of artisanship or whatever it is." Whether you're a cook or a baker, a candlestick maker. See how I did there? A little nursery rhyme. Whether you make something out of wood, or you weld, or you fix cars, or fabricate things, or you write stories, or you paint, whatever the thing is, put your stamp on it. Make your voice heard. Make your name heard. Make people go, "Wow, I can't believe this person created this or was a part of this. This is a big deal." When I was a kid, I remember growing up in Atlanta, and we would drive by downtown Atlanta. Oftentimes, my mom would point at the Capitol building in Atlanta that has a gold roof, and she said, when my dad, your papa, was a young man, he helped paint that roof gold." That roof. Frank Tanksley painted that roof. Now, a lot of people don't know Frank, but I guarantee if you ever met Frank, you know his name. There's a lot of people out there that imprint their name on you because of the things they do. Be one of those people. The Bad Batch is a good show. And I think it's entertaining. And I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy it. I am going to enjoy it. There's lots of movies coming out soon. The Kenobi movie is getting ready to come out. The Loki series is getting ready to come out. There's all kinds of new content getting ready to come out. And the best part is, I'm almost done painting my house. I know I've mentioned the fact that we've been painting room by room. And today we painted our laundry room and we repainted the hallway that goes upstairs. If you guys watch my YouTube channel, you've seen highlights of stuff going on with that. So, that being said, the only room left to do is the one that I'm in right now, the podcast room. Now, this room is interesting because this room used to be one of my children's room. One of my sons slept here. When we first bought this house, we had it built actually. When we had this house built, this was his bedroom. He slept in here. And I can't tell you how many times I've come in this room and played toys with them and, built stuff with Legos and read them bedtime stories and, just come in here to goof around, play video games, whatever. And then when they grew up and they moved out, this room got converted into an exercise room for my wife, who at later in life decided that she wanted to become a runner and she wanted a treadmill in here so that on days when it rained, she could still run. And so we had an elliptical machine and a treadmill in here. And this room was like a workout room. We had weights in here. I mounted a TV up on the wall so that she could run and look at the TV, and fans on her so she wouldn't just be dripping sweat everywhere. And this was a workout room for a long time. And then 3 years ago, I said, I'm going to start a podcast. And she was like, okay. She didn't listen to podcasts then. She does now. And one night on the couch, I said, I'm going to make that bedroom, that workout room, into a podcast room. And she was like, what? And I said, yeah, I'm going to make it a podcast room. She's like, no, you're not. And here we are. As things change, listen, the one consistent in all of this is that change happens. And you just got to kind of roll with the punches, and you learn what's important, and you make accommodations in one way or another with each other. You're a couple. You talk it out. You know, find out what you're into and you try to support one another. And that changes too. I mean, looking around the room here, this whole wall over here is full of race medals and pictures of my wife in races that she's ran in, and I'm so proud of her for doing all of that because she said she was going to do it and she followed through. I mean, like a big league swinger. She pointed to the fences and she says, I'm going to do this, and she did it. And so with that, now she's like, okay, I don't necessarily need these pictures here anymore. I do want to keep my medals. I like the medal rack. I think that's cool. And I want to keep my bibs from all the races that I ran. I think that's really cool. But the pictures can go away. I mean, we have all of the pictures online. She's right in a way. We don't necessarily need to have them framed on the wall. But she's like, do whatever you want to with the room. The podcast is your thing, obviously. So change it. Okay. So I'm looking at the room and I'm like, what am I going to do different? I don't know. Honestly, this room has got to be empty and painted, probably in not next weekend, but the weekend after that, probably. But once it's painted, I kind of want to put things back a little bit differently and give it a different look altogether. The backdrop I have behind me is cool. I like it, but that may change too. I don't know. There's a lot to think about, a lot to ponder. But one thing is consistent: things are changing. So, I've been at this for a while. This is about 30 minutes or so. Yeah, getting close. I don't exactly know when I started. Oh, I did want to talk about, I just skipped over a whole show that I watched. Um, I watched a show and a movie. I got to get the name of the movie though. What the heck is that movie? Uh, this is where an assistant would help. See, if I had a young Jamie or Halston, I could say, Halston, what is that new Netflix flicks machines movie? The Mitchells versus the Machines. The Mitchells versus the Machines is hilarious. It just came out this week. It is good. Okay, so here's the bio thing that I'm reading off of Google. Young Katie Mitchell embarks on a road trip with her proud parents, younger brother, and beloved dog to start her first year of film school. But their plans to bond as a family soon get interrupted when the world's uh, electronic devices come to life to stage an uprising. With help from two friendly robots, the Mitchells must now come together and save one another and the planet from the new technological revolution. This is a hilarious movie. I loved it. Um, Danny McBride's in it, Eric Andre, Maya Rudolph, Blake Griffin is one of the voices. This is awesome. I love it. Conan O'Brien. This is so good. Um, I loved it. I thought it was great. I was, I I turned it on just because I was tired and I was like, I got a couple hours before I go to bed. Let me just hit play. And I thought I would just have it on in the background while I did other stuff. And I legitimately belly laughed so many times that I was unexpected to do so. I think that's the best laugh is when you don't expect to laugh and suddenly you're just like like you just kind of lose control of your laugh. I loved it. It was great. They did a great job. It was so funny. The characters in it are funny. The story is funny. The everything they did about it was funny. The voices of the people were funny. The stupid dog that they have this dog that has messed up eyeballs and it's just weird. And the girl wants to go to film school and she's very creative and she comes up with these really funny videos that she puts online of the dog as like a cop. And it's just like a buddy cop movie with a dog and a sock puppet. And it is it is so funny. Okay. So you gotta watch the Mitchells versus the Machines. It is really, really good. Um, I also watched Shadow and Bone, which is a series. Apparently, there was a book based on this. Um, I didn't read the books, obviously, because, when do I got time to read? Between watching everything I watch and this. Um, so, anyway, Shadow and Bone, Ben Barnes was the first character that I recognized on the screen whenever they were showing this thing going on. And I know Ben Barnes from The Punisher. He was like, the main character's best friend who turns into being a bad guy at the end. And I thought that his character story arc was so good and he did such a great job of it. And I thought, wow, what an interesting bad guy. Like, I've talked before about how a good bad guy makes the show, how Vincent D'Onofrio makes Daredevil good by being the kingpin. Um, Ben Barnes was the bad guy that made the Punisher really, really good. And he's the bad guy in this. And he's really, really good in this. The show, the first couple episodes, I was like, okay, I'm kind of into this because the main character looks like my sister in law. I really thought it was Adrian. My brother's wife's sister is a stunt woman and an actor, and she's been in several things, and she's she's quite character. She's white. Blah, 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 blah. I just stuttered over my own voice. She's quite a pretty girl and an athletic girl, and the kind of person that I thought would be this character. I mean, just she's athletic. She looks identical to this woman. What's her name? Jessie May Lee, Meili is her last name. Um, she looks just like her. I mean, I thought, golly, this is Adrian, and I was like, I was elbowing my wife. Look, Adrian's on the screen, and it wasn't her because I had to look up her name, and I was like, that's not her. Um, so anyway, the plot is sinister forces plot against young soldier after she reveals a magical power that may unite her world. Doesn't that sound really cool? It is really cool, actually. It's quite enjoyable. There's this dude who's like a sharpshooter with two pistols that I really like him. You know he's just got a character about him. It's just to me he's the most likable character other than Ben Barnes in this. Honestly, the two main characters, there's a guy named Mel, who's supposed to be her best friend and sort of a love interest, but even though neither one of them has actually said it to each other, they're still going along as buddies right now. I think their love affair is going to come out later. Um, but they're not as interesting as the bad guy, Ben Barnes, and this dude who's the sharpshooter. I really like this guy with the two guns, man. He is quite the charismatic guy. He really is. So they gave him some of the funniest taglines and some of the funniest moments. And there's even a scene with a goat where he's he's told to bring this goat on this adventure, and he's like, "What's the goat for? The goat's for you." He's like, "What?" And then they go on this thing, and he gets scared, and he's like, "Hug the goat." He's like, "Okay," and he hugs the goat. And he goes, "I do feel better." It's just it's like they wrote things for him just because they realized he was funny, and it's good. Listen, the first couple episodes, I was like, I don't know, this is okay, and then towards the end, I was like, this is good. I came back around. I was like, I made full circle. Listen, you can change your ideas, you can change your perceptions. I changed mine. So go check out the Mitchells versus the Machines and Shadow and Bone and the Bad Batch, and that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for all of the kind words again for last week's episode. It is Mother's Day tomorrow. Go hug your mom. Tell her you love her. Thank you for giving me life, Mom. I love you. And I love all of you for listening and paying attention and letting me know when you do this and wanting to be a part of this. I think it's great. I still want to continue it. I mean, it's been almost 3 years. What is it? Next weekend is 3 years. It's been almost 3 years, and I'm still enjoying it. And I want to keep doing more. So we'll keep growing. We'll keep getting better. You guys, let me know if you want to be a part of this. I did reach out to Cinema Chop Shop, and they sent me some stuff back. I got some homework to do. I'm going to be a guest episode on. So we're going to be collaborating on something. I'm going to have them guys on this one to talk about their podcast, and I'm going to be on there. And when I am, I'll let you guys know what to tune into. So thanks for checking me out. And as always, cue the cow.